'Cause there's nowhere in this world that I can take you. As the pillars of creation become red, all the stars you pass will only serenade you. In the starstream, no one gets that far ahead.
Number 1 and 2 should not come as a surprise. Like many, I have Joe Burrow headed to the Bengals. The Ohio native broke countless records during LSU's undefeated championship run and will be a franchise quarterback for years to come. That Cincinnati offense is going to be a lot better than people think next year. With Burrow, they still have Joe Mixon, who, in my opinion, is one of the top backs in the league talent-wise. AJ Green and Tyler Boyd are still on the outside, and the team will get back a fully healthy first-round pick from last year, Jonah Williams, for that offensive line. Headed to number 2, Ron Rivera could have an opportunity to trade down. I don't think he does, and I do not blame him at all. Chase Young is a once-in-a-generational pass rusher who holds the Ohio State record for sacks. That's impressive, but think about this. Both Nick and Joey Bosa also attended school there. You win in this league by building in the trenches. He is going to be a massive success for the Washington Redskins. This is where things get really, really interesting. Could it be Tua to the Dolphins, Herbert to the Chargers, or could it be flipped around? My gut tells me that the Chargers want Tua just a hair more, which is why I have them trading up to the 3 spot. Tua has great dual threat mobility, always extending plays by keeping his eyes down the field. He's phenomenal in the play action game, doesn't turn the ball over. There's so many positives with this kid. Yet there are still rumors, as we can see, circulating that he may fall out of the top 10, and we all know why. Since becoming the starter for Alabama, Tua has gone through 2 ankle surgeries. That's not all. Also add in a hip surgery, and I'm still not done. He suffered a broken nose as well. Oh, and he managed to get a concussion. That is extremely concerning. And these aren't freak injuries. He has a small frame. He's 6 foot, 215 pounds. If he can manage to stay healthy, sure, the Chargers found their guy for the next 12 years. But if not, which he has shown in the past, ugh. Following up, we have the New York Football Giants at the 4 spot. They could go offensive line here and protect Daniel Jones, but with this tackle class being so deep, it would not shock me if they waited until the later rounds or trade up in the back of the first. They could also take Jeff Okudah since the Lions did trade out of that 3 spot. He's regarded as the best cornerback in this class, but I've got Dave Gettleman taking a very, very versatile Isaiah Simmons. Simmons is very talented. He would help out a very disappointed Giants defense in multiple ways. The question with him is, it isn't can he play multiple positions. We saw this at Clemson. He played linebacker, defensive end, cornerback, safety. The question is, can he excel at one of these positions in the big league? You can be good at a handful of positions, but we still need you to be great at one specific spot. Regardless, I think the talent is too much to pass up. He's going to be a great boost for the Big Blue defense. Rounding out the top 5, Miami fans have most likely already left due to the fact that I have LA selecting Tua at the 3 spot, but do not blame me. It's obvious that Miami would rather have Tua. They tried flying him down to their facilities. Due to the whole COVID-19 thing, it didn't work out, but I also think that they are more comfortable taking whichever quarterback falls to them if it means they get to keep their other first-round picks. So at the 6th spot, I have Miami drafting Justin Herbert, quarterback out of Oregon. He isn't the flashiest quarterback. In fact, I think he has a lower ceiling than Joe Burrow, Tua, and even Jordan Love. But I do believe he can become a solid starter, and that's great news for Miami. You need, and let me emphasize this, good quarterback play to win in this league. You don't need elite play. You don't need an MVP. In fact, since 1999, there have been 9 quarterbacks who won the MVP award and went on to play in the Super Bowl. What was their record? 0-9. Save the picks, draft Herbert at number 6, draft offensive linemen, build in the trenches, get him some weapons. I have loved what Flores has done so far. He's quietly building a strong team down in South Beach. Enough of the tank for Tua. You're going to be fine with Herbert. What a dream scenario for Detroit. They had the opportunity to draft Okudah at 3, but they risked it. They managed to trade down to the 6th spot, picked up an abundance of picks, and still managed to land what many think is the top cornerback in this class. Okudah has the prototypical size you want, as we can see. He was first team All Big Ten, first team AP All-American. He's very quick at the line. He's great in man coverage, has phenomenal chase down ability after getting beat, great recovery. He's more physical than you would think as well. He would instantly fill that void left by Darius Slay. The only real knock I found on Okudah was when he was assigned in zone coverage. As I touched earlier, he excels in man. Do not complicate things if you're Matt Patricia. Keep him in man coverage and watch the results. You'll be more than happy with what you see. At number 7, I believe Carolina will have the chance to trade down, although I do think they stay put and select defensive lineman Derek Brown out of Auburn. Brown isn't my highest rated defensive lineman. I do have Javon Kinlaw slightly ahead of him, but I do believe that this is the route they will take. Brown has drawn very positive reviews from scouts and has even been labeled by one former NFL player as the most exciting pass rusher since Aaron Donald. Carolina seems to be trying to get younger on the defensive line. They let go of Mario Addison and Bruce Irvin in free agency. Brown will join Brian Burns, who turns 22 a few weeks from now. It would be an A-plus move. They could go for one of the top tackles on the board or even throw a curveball and draft a wide receiver, but I do think that this is the most logical choice for newly hired head coach Matt Rule and the Carolina Panthers. I've read some reports lately, not sure how true they are, that Kyler Murray is pitching to the Cardinals front office that they should draft CeeDee Lamb at number 8. I think that would be a mistake. As DeAndre Hopkins, Larry Fitzgerald, and Christian Kirk not enough, Kyler? Let's let the front office work on the drafting. My first offensive lineman off the board, I have Arizona selecting Tristan Wirfs out of Iowa. Again, much like Derek Brown, this isn't my top player at the position, but I do believe this is what will end up happening. Wirfs is not the most NFL ready, but does have unbelievable upside. I think putting him at the right tackle spot with DJ Humphries on the left side would be good enough to succeed. They're going to be putting up a lot of points next year if they improve that offensive line. We have our second trade inside the top 10. The Buccaneers jump all the way to number 9, leapfrogging both Cleveland and the Jets, two O-line needy teams. Tampa Bay needs a left tackle to protect Tom Brady, and there isn't a more pro-ready player in the draft than Andrew Thomas. Thomas may not have as much upside as some of the other offensive linemen in this draft, but he will be ready to make an immediate impact for Bruce Arians and the Buccaneers starting day one. This is one hell of a pick for Tampa Bay. Two straight offensive linemen off the board, and everybody's favorite drafting team, the Cleveland Browns, keep it rolling, making it 3 straight, selecting Mekhi Becton out of Louisville. Becton looks like he may be a project in the NFL, but has arguably the greatest upside of any offensive lineman. And I think with Cleveland signing Jack Conklin in free agency, they won't be afraid to take that risk. Becton stands at 6'6", 6'7", over 340 pounds. He's an absolute giant. He excels in run blocking, something I think will really intrigue the Browns, and I think they're really going to lean on that in the upcoming season with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. I think there's a minor chance Cleveland shocks people and drafts Javon Kinlaw. Some reports have come out saying there's some mutual interest between the two, but protecting Baker Mayfield remains a must, especially after a bad 2019 season. 4 straight offensive linemen gone in the blink of an eye, and just like the saying goes, the best was saved for last as New York selects Jedrick Wills from the University of Alabama. It seems like every year the Jets get lucky with high prospects falling to them. We saw this in recent years with Leonard Williams and Jamal Adams, and it's happening again. Wills is my highest rated offensive lineman. Joe Douglas values this position very, very highly. Even with the need for a wide receiver, I think the class is too deep for them to select one here, especially with a player such as Wills on the board. The constant duress that Sam Darnold underwent last year and the lack of space they gave Le'Veon Bell will only justify this pick even more. New York gets an absolute steal at 11. And at last, we have our first wide receiver taken off the board. I'm sure it has surprised a few, but I have the Oakland Raiders selecting Jerry Jeudy, making it back-to-back Alabama players selected. Tyrell Williams, Nelson Aguilar, and Hunter Renfrow won't be getting the job done in 2020. Oakland needs a true number one wideout, and that's exactly what Jerry Jeudy is. His on-the-field speed is exceptional, and he also possesses the best route running ability in this class. As we saw last year, with the Clelin Ferrell pick, we don't know exactly what John Gruden and Mike Mayock have in mind. Hell, they could draft a quarterback at number 12. It wouldn't shock me, but there's no way in hell I'm guessing it. So I'm just going to be going with the safe pick. I would advise taking the player from Alabama, the college that has produced Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, and Amari Cooper. Number 13, no, I do not have San Francisco taking a wide receiver here, and there's a couple reasons why. I believe Shanahan wants Jeudy and Jeudy only, and if he is off the board, don't be shocked if they address another position. This wide receiver class, as I have said, is extremely deep, and they still have another first-round pick. With the 13th overall pick, I have the 49ers selecting Javon Kinlaw, who is the best overall player on my board at this time. Kinlaw won his team's defensive MVP last year at South Carolina. He is a menacing bull rush and possesses superior strength. He showed countless times last year that double teams struggled against him. With DeForest Buckner gone, Kinlaw would be a perfect replacement on this talented defensive line. He would be a steal at this point at the draft for John Lynch. When I first made this draft, I had the Jaguars selecting CJ Henderson at number 9. But then I thought, well, why reach for him there when you could pick up him and some extra capital at the 14 spot? The Jaguars have lost A.J. Bouye, they lost Jalen Ramsey, and, well, they lost pretty much every player from their 2017 AFC Championship team. But back to the point. The Jaguars' cornerback position right now consists of DJ Hayden, Trey Herndon, and Rashad Melvin. That's not exactly the most intimidating cornerback group considering what they once had. Henderson would give Jacksonville a fresh start at cornerback and would serve as another piece in an attempt to rebuild what once was a ferocious defensive unit. They could reach for an offensive tackle, they could also go edge, but with Henderson still there and with them having him in mind at number 9, it only makes sense to select CJ Henderson at that 14 spot. Broncos fans have to be going nuts right now. Somehow CeeDee Lamb has fallen all the way to 15, and at this point, it's a no-brainer for John Elway. The Broncos revamped their offensive line this year by signing Melvin Gordon and offensive lineman Graham Glasgow. The team already has Courtland Sutton, who eclipsed 1,100 yards last year and 6 touchdowns. Pairing him with a player such as Lamb would be the final missing piece to this puzzle. I believe the second year for a quarterback is the most important. Drew Lock had a phenomenal end to the year, so giving him another weapon should be a must for that front office. Whether they trade up for him or stay put and risk it, that remains to be seen. But if I was a betting man, I would lay it all down on CeeDee Lamb playing at Mile High Stadium next season. You know, I'm not sure who would be more excited, Broncos fans after getting CeeDee Lamb or Falcons fans after landing K'Lavon Chaisson. I wouldn't be shocked if the LSU Tiger gets selected in the top 10. That's how high I view him. This kid is extremely talented. First team All-SEC, very high football IQ, has a versatile skill set. The Falcons parted way with Vic Beasley, as we know, but I do believe that Chaisson could play a similar role even with the signing of Dante Fowler. I think it's a lock. Atlanta goes defensive player. They're looking for that impact defensive player. They could trade up for a player such as maybe Javon Kinlaw or CJ Henderson. There's been talks of them trading up. But with a player like Chaisson and the talent he has sliding this far to the 16 spot, you can't beat that value. It's a good snag for the Falcons. If Chason was still available, I think it's a no-brainer for the Cowboys to select him. However, I have the New Orleans Saints trading up all the way to 17 and selecting their quarterback for the future in Jordan Love. Love is a very hit-or-miss prospect for many. With that being said, I am a huge fan of this kid, and I think New Orleans would be the perfect situation for Love to walk in. His 2019 statistics dropped in an alarming way compared to the ones he did post in 2018, but it is worth noting he lost a majority of his offensive starters from the year prior. Love isn't a day one starter, we know that. He is going to need at least 1 year on the bench to catch up to the speed of the NFL, but what better person to learn from than a future Hall of Famer in Drew Brees and Sean Payton? Obviously, it's a patient pick. It's not going to have an immediate impact, but the long-term value of this pick here might be the highest in the entire draft. I really have a good feeling about Jordan Love. Miami's second first-round pick, a lot of analysts, I've seen them having the Dolphins either select an offensive tackle, an edge rusher, sometimes even a running back, but I think they will all be available at number 26, hence why I have them selecting a very talented Alabama prospect in Xavier McKinney. McKinney is known for his high football IQ and versatility. He reminded me of a Swiss Army knife at Alabama. It seems like he can do it all. He doesn't have the best hands, which is probably why he is a defensive back, but all in all, he's a very talented young kid. This is the last piece to that Miami secondary, adding McKinney to a group that consists of Xavier Howard, Byron Jones, Bobby McCain, who I would like them to see permanently move to the slot, and Eric Rowe. That would solidify one of the top secondaries in the entire league. Another pick, another trade. By the grace of God, Nick Foles, or whoever the Eagles fans worship the most, Henry Ruggs has somehow fallen to 19. And with Oakland selecting a wideout at number 12, they agreed to trade the pick to Philadelphia. Ruggs is known for his speed, as we know, but his game consists of a lot more. His route tree is phenomenal. He has extremely reliable hands. Has the ability to take a 5-yard slant 60 yards to the house due to a combination of explosiveness, acceleration, speed. He's got it all. He did struggle at times versus physical cornerbacks. He will have to work on his release against press coverage. We saw this against LSU last year, but I don't think Carson Wentz and Eagles fans will care about that, considering their quarterback was playing with a practice squad for the last 9 games of the year. Eagles hit a home run. Rounding out of the top 20, I have Jacksonville selecting A.J. Epinesa from Iowa. It is no secret that Yannick Ngakoue wants out of Jacksonville. Where he will end up, only time will tell, but this would be a good replacement for him. The former Iowa Hawkeye lists as 6'5", 275 pounds. I get the feeling you can't really miss on this player. He's second-team All-American, first-team All-Big Ten during his collegiate career. It wouldn't shock me if Jacksonville decided to go offensive lineman with this pick or draft a player even like Justin Jefferson to help out that receiving core and Gardner Minshew. I just think the idea of pairing Epinesa with Josh Allen, their first-round pick last year, will be too much to pass up. After trading back with the Eagles, the Raiders select linebacker Kenneth Murray at number 21 overall. They've been linked to the Oklahoma prospect for a while now. Makes a lot of sense for that Raiders defense. Before I touch on Minnesota and Dallas, I want to get to New England real quick, selecting edge rusher Yetur Gross-Matos out of Penn State. It's almost impossible to predict what New England will do in the draft, but I really like the fit between this franchise and the Nittany Lion. Feels like a quote-unquote Patriot pick, if I may. Yetur Gross-Matos. It's going to be hard to become a bust with a name like that. Let's roll on. Let's take a look at 22 and 24 at the same time. We have a little LSU special here. At number 22, the Minnesota Vikings select wide receiver Justin Jefferson. Jefferson, as we know, had an extraordinary year during LSU's title run, racking up over 1,500 yards and 18 touchdowns. He's absolutely lethal in the slot and would become Kirk Cousins' best friend in the middle of the field. It still remains to be seen if he can play outside as well. I have some concerns with that, but he would make a great duo with Adam Thielen. Jefferson's teammate Christian Fulton is the Cowboys pick at 24. The team obviously let go of Byron Jones in free agency. I can't say I blame them after looking at the contract that he received. Fulton has a nice, solid frame to him, has a 40% completion rate versus opponents since 2018. Between the frame and the playing style, he almost reminds me of an AJ Boye, the former Jacksonville Jaguar. After watching some of his tape, I did notice it seemed like he struggled versus himself sometimes. What I mean by that was his confidence. It seemed like he got in his own head at moments. I still think he has a chance to become a star for Dallas, no pun intended. I know their last first-round pick that was spent on an LSU defensive back didn't turn out too hot. I'm sorry, Morris Claiborne, but they should feel safe drafting a player like Kristian Fulton. Back to Minnesota with number 25. I have them picking Jeff Gladney out of TCU. Xavier Rhodes, as we know, is long gone, and they need a replacement for the former Pro Bowler. Enter Jeff Gladney. Miami's final first-round pick, I went back and forth with it. I've seen many analysts give the Dolphins a running back here, but I would wait until the second round. I think J.K. Dobbins, who is my number one running back, will still be available. At 26, I have the Dolphins finally addressing that offensive tackle position, giving them Austin Jackson out of USC. Jackson was my 5th highest rated offensive lineman. He was first team All Pac-12 last year. He has outstanding frame already, but there's even more room to add to it. He possesses very natural left tackle traits, but don't be surprised if he struggles a little early. His game will come with time. He's a little raw, but I love the long-term potential of this pick. The Dolphins aced the first round. There are 2 untouchable players in the NFL today, and they go by the names of Patrick Mahomes and Russell Wilson. When you have a player like that, you need to protect him. Enter Josh Jones, offensive tackle from Houston. I think Pete Carroll and company will mold him into a beautiful franchise tackle for Russell Wilson. The former Houston Cougar goes to Seattle at 27. 28, the rich get richer as Baltimore manages to steal Patrick Queen. Is it safe to say that LSU is LBU? They've produced Quan Alexander, Deion Jones, you can include Barkevious Mingo, and now Patrick Queen. Queen was one of my favorite players in the entire draft. He was my number 1 rated linebacker. He is extremely explosive and has dominant physical traits. That little FPF you see right underneath the pros, that stands for Fast Physical Freak. If you want to knock him on anything, there's not much. He only has 1 year of starting under his belt. That's not a big deal to me. In fact, that makes his play even more impressive considering the lack of playing time he has. Would definitely be willing to bet money that this man is an All-Pro in 3 years. Listing off the final 4, I have Jalen Johnson headed to the Titans. Some may call it a reach. I believe it's a smart pick. Had 2 strong seasons as he finished out at Utah. Both the Packers and 49ers are going wide receiver to end the first round. Green Bay selects Jalen Reagor out of TCU. Devontae Adams definitely needs another weapon beside him, and Devin Funchess is not going to cut it. Reagor is a very shifty player. He can do it all. Reminds me of a Curtis Samuel type of player in terms of versatility and explosive ability. He struggles to verse press a little bit. Might have to beef up and become a little bit more physical, but it's a good pick for Aaron Rodgers and company. After going BPA at number 13, San Francisco pairs up Denzel Mims with Deebo Samuel in that 49ers offense. I'm a huge fan of the Baylor product. He's got beautiful size that comes with blazing speed, has the best catch radius in the draft. If you throw him a 50-50 ball in the end zone, he is going to come down with it. Although his top speed isn't a problem, it's building up to it, which concerns me. Not the best acceleration. I would like to see a little bit more urgency from Mims. And finally, the Chiefs at number 32. They could go a lot of ways with this pick. I had them selecting Zach Bond from Wisconsin. He did spend most of his time as an edge rusher for the Badgers. He would be most likely playing off-ball or Sam linebacker for the Chiefs. I don't think that transition would be a problem at all. Chiefs end the first round with a very solid pick.